Yes, Taylor mentioned we've been doing this quite a while, and we're very excited about this company that we're going to present today. Austin's going to focus on the company and how they work and their business model. Can you hear me? Okay. And so, can BC keep building enough rental properties? That's really, truly the question. So, I guess I'm going the wrong way. Steve, Krishan, everyone talks about affordability. That's a big problem in Canada. It's a big problem in the US. It's not going away. The costs to build are going higher, and it's just forcing a lot of people into the rental market. Canada is the top of the G7s in terms of their target for immigration. I'm going to touch a bit more on those numbers. And right now, our supply is not keeping up with the current demand, the domestic demand. So here are the numbers that a recent report done by Desjardins, an economist. He said, you know, Canada wants to bring 1.5 million immigrants into the country by 2025. The report goes on to say that we need to boost our housing starts by 50%. Currently, they're around 200,000 units a year. They've got to increase them to 310,000 just to keep up with this demand from the immigration. So what are we doing? Well, last year, Canada let in 1 million people, the highest in Canadian history. And CMHC goes on to say, well, we're delivering 2020 levels. So we're not even bringing enough supply for domestic demand, much let alone what's going on. And this is an interesting chart because it illustrates house price growth versus income. So this is from 2012 to 2022. Since 2015, house price growth has outpaced income by 50%. So what does this mean? Well, vacancy rates, where are they in Canada? This is across Canada, 1.9%, less than 2% vacancy in our purpose-built or our rental properties and rental accommodations. And you know, it's all across the different types of rental assets. Both the purpose-built, which is a landlord owns one building and he's renting it to multiple residents, and for people like me that own a rental condo and I'm renting it to an investor. So, you know, there is really no supply. So I know Steve touched on our prices going to come down, what's happening, why aren't they coming down with high interest rates? Well, it's really simple, basic economics, supply, demand. We don't have enough supply for the demand. And then you couple that with rents rising by 15%. Well, obviously, you know, something's got to break. I just bought a property with my daughter, and yes, exactly what Steve says, that under $2.5 million, it's competitive, but her rents were ridiculous. So she should buy, and that's the process that we're going through. So we're really excited about West Urban Developments. This is a local BC company, head office in Campbell River, and their focus is purpose-built rental. They're a premier property development company, founded in 2017. They deliver a high quality construction while offering value, which is really good for both investors and the residents. Their plan is to become a national company by the end of 2023 and expand into the US in 5 years. So, with all presentations, target returns. I want to let everyone understand when we talk about an investment opportunity, there's target returns, and those target returns are based on financial models that use information that's available at the time they prepare. So it's really, really important when you invest in these investments that you understand the key assumptions and the associated risks. And remember one thing, past performance is no guarantee of future results. So these aren't guaranteed returns, they're targeted returns, and they're based on financial models. There's an offering memorandum that you can read, and it provides you all the details, including the pro formas. So we encourage you to read it. I had the privilege of interviewing the co-founders of West Urban earlier this year, Sean Roy and Terry Hoff. Sean has been in the business since 2003. He has a master's in city planning. He has worked and not co-founded, but was a CEO in 3 very successful purpose-built rental companies, Pacific Georgia, Broad Street, and Ironclad. And he brought these companies to very strong standards. In 2017, he met Terry, and they co-founded West Urban. You know, Sean's attitude is you need to scale in order to have economic viability in the development industry, and that's exactly what he's starting to do. Terry comes from a much different background. He worked in major industry in northern Alberta. That's the oil and gas sector, mining, and his His real strength is building dynamic teams, process, focusing on the structure and the growth of a company. So they're a great complementary leadership team. Their executive team has over 30 years experience building purpose-built rental in Western Canada. So it's a strong team. They have over 220 employees plus right now. They run 15 construction teams. They produce about 400 million annually in construction. So we know why they're successful. They're successful because they focus on fundamentals, they focus on scale, they focus on process and people. They actively recruit and retain top talent, and then they really hone in on what do. They stick to their knitting. They build purpose-built rental, and they do it really well. It's 6-story wood frame, and they just keep repeating. So we're going to look at some of their completed projects. To date, they've done 16 projects, about 1,000 units. They've exited 11 successfully, and they've sold these to Canada's major REITs, real estate investment trusts that are buying them after they build them. It's again, fundamentals, getting those markets. They work with over 300 realtors across Canada. They have relationships with all the major financial institutions, as well as these real estate investment trusts, which is their end buyer. So to date, they've sold these 11. They've realized an average return of about 52% to their investors, which annualized, that's about 25%. They manage 4 of the properties, and these properties are by intention. The investors put their money in. They wanted to be in an investment that generated passive long-term income. So under construction today, they have 10 projects, about 1,400 units. Primarily they've been on Vancouver Island, but now they're moving into Kelowna, Penticton. They're going to expand. As I mentioned, they want to be a national company by the end of 2023. So in doing this, they're slowly moving across the country. They honed their skills on Vancouver Island where they could control the process. They built it out. Now they're moving across the country. So excited to see where they go. So upcoming. So most investors that I have are very excited about this company. They love the idea of investing in purpose-built rental. More importantly, the time horizons for West Urban are very, very short. They're 18 to 22 months of your invested capital, which is really very short in terms of a development investment. So they're expanding into Calgary, Maple Ridge, Abbotsford, into Cochrane, Alberta. Again, they're looking at what are the top 10 markets. Why are these markets the ones we should be in? These are markets that have strong population growth, very, very low vacancies, and are seeing improving fundamentals. So we've got a lot in the pipeline, about 1,100 units. To recap, West Urban today has built 1,000 units. It has delivered really strong returns. Average time horizon to hold these properties is approximately 22 months. So we like the time horizon, we like the returns that we see, and we really like the asset class. I'm going to take at this time to turn this over to Austin, and he's going to walk you through all the details.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thanks everybody for being here. Before I jump into West Urban's business model a little bit more, I want to play a quick 1-minute video that highlights West Urban and some of their developments. Turn your mic off. Turn your mic off. Well, there's supposed to be some fun music. I was going to do a whole dancing skit, but we'll just have to watch this and save that one for later.
These are actual properties that they've built, and so they've taken drone and flew over and showcasing, some of their developments.
So I'm sure I'm like many of you and have owning a piece of BC waterfront property on your bucket list. I haven't been able to cross that one off the list yet, but from the looks of this video, West Urban might be our early ticket in. So now that we understand there's a clear lack of housing here in Canada and how West Urban is in a position to bring new apartment buildings to the market, I want to talk a little bit more about their business plan and how you as the investor can participate. West Urban's business model can really be broken down into 3 different stages, and the first stage is the acquisition stage. West Urban will locate a piece of property for future development. These locations are in markets with a notable lack of affordable housing. They're in markets with growing populations and low vacancy rates. Once West Urban has purchased the process, they will then take it through the entitlement process, and this includes any necessary rezoning and permitting. Also in this stage, they will secure their construction loan financing, and this can range between 75 and 80% loan to cost. This is West Urban's most recent land acquisition, and this was in Duncan, BC. It was originally a bare piece of land with 1 small commercial unit on it. For those of you that attended our last Brunch and Learn, we presented on this opportunity. Since then, they have received their building permits, secured their construction financing, and have now entered into the second stage of their investment process. The second stage is the development stage, and this is where you as the investors are brought on. Once they've secured their building permits, secured their construction loan financing, they'll bring on investors for the remaining equity needed to complete the build. As an example, if they receive 75% financing, they'll bring on investors for the remaining 25% needed to complete the build. This development stage typically takes about 18 to 22 months. West Urban brings on investors once they're shovel ready, and this is a major advantage of working with this company. I'm sure many of you are aware that permitting stage can be a lengthy and at times delayed process, so bringing on investors once they're ready to break ground and start construction really mitigates some of that timeline risk. And this is West Urban's current Kelowna project called Bryden Road, and this is in the middle of development. They broke ground in November of last year, and these are 4 photos from their most recent recent quarterly update that they provide to all their investors that are participating in this opportunity. And the final stage is the exit stage, and it's the most exciting because this is where you as the investor see a return on your invested capital. When West Urban is nearing the completion of their build, they'll begin leasing up the building. This typically takes about 4 months, and also during this time, they'll begin discussions with potential buyers. These buyers are large REITs or other large institutions looking for a new, stabilized, and cash-flowing building to add to their portfolio. That's West Urban's first option upon exit, and that is the one that they intend on all their investment opportunities. They have a second option, which is to hold as a rental building. In this option, they will secure takeout financing, they'll return you, the investor, your initial invested capital, and then they'll operate it as a rental building. As Kyle touched on, West Urban builds all of their buildings to qualify for CMHC financing through both energy efficiency and affordability. So they're able to go out there and secure more favorable financing terms than if you and I went to go buy a rental property. They do have 2 investment options upon exit, but they do intend to sell them upon completion, and that's important to note. They've completed 16 projects to date, and 11 of those have sold to large major REITs. So once they've sold that asset, the construction lender is always repaid first. Then investors are repaid their initial invested capital, and then profits are split 50-50. 50% to you as the investor, and 50% to West Urban as the developer. So in addition to bringing on investors once they are shovel ready, ready to break ground to mitigate some of that timeline risk, I want to talk about a few other advantages of working with this company, West Urban. West Urban is very proud to have over 250 employees, and this allows them to take the investment process from land acquisition onto sale of the property. They have a land acquisition team that is always constantly evaluating for new properties to buy. They have an architect and design team that walks them through the rezoning or any permitting stages. And once they're ready for construction, they have an in-house development team. As Cynthia mentioned, they also have ownership in many different sub-trades, and this really allows them to secure fair pricing and make sure that their timelines are met. The second point is they have a proven track record. And as an investor, this is very important when evaluating a different company or a different investment. And West Urban has proven to deliver on their business plan with an average annualized return back to investors of 25%. Another key advantage is the investment risk for investors is truly limited. As an investor, you're never asked for any cost overruns or cash calls. Any additional capital needed for these projects is handled directly by West Urban themselves. And finally, they have very transparent communication. As an investor, you'll receive quarterly updates as well as annual financials. They also have live site camera access. So if you want to wake up on a Sunday morning, beautiful like today, and say, hey, where's my development in the process? You can log on and you can see that in real time. They also have an active investment team. So any questions you have throughout the whole investment period, you can reach out to myself, Taylor, or Cynthia, and we have those answered for you directly by West Urban in a very timely manner. So I woke up this morning and wanted to see where my investment process was. So I logged on, and these were for a few photos I wanted to screenshot and share with you. So if you're ever wondering and you want to see, I think it's a pretty cool aspect of these investments. So since 2017, their inception, they've completed 16 projects. 11 of those have sold, and their average annualized return has been 25% over the course of 24 months. So the investment period hold has been 24 months. We're constantly evaluating and looking at new companies and new opportunities, and West Urban's ability to deliver these types of returns in that short of a timeline was a major standout for us and has proven to be a standout for many of our investors that have already participated with West Urban. I'm really excited to have a current opportunity available with West Urban, and this is their current opportunity called the Cascara, and it is located in Salmon Arm. This opportunity allows you to invest in the development and the sale of a 6-story, 140-unit apartment building with the ground floor being commercial space. Some of the reasons why we like this opportunity there in Salmon Arm is its location right on the commercial strip and just a few blocks up from the beautiful Shuswap Lake. Salmon Arm's also experiencing very low vacancy rates. They have an under 1% vacancy rate, and that's across all assets as well as age of assets. So there's even a stronger demand for newly constructed apartment buildings in this area. They're also experiencing they're also experiencing strong population growth, healthy population growth, about 10% since 2016. And this isn't their first project in the interior BC. This is now their third site in the area. So we walked through the 3 investment stages. West Urban has purchased this piece of land. They've secured their building permits. They've secured their construction loan financing. And now they're bringing on investors for the remaining equity needed for construction and to complete the project. They've secured about $29 million worth of financing and are now bringing on investors for about $7.7 million worth of equity. They're ready to break ground next month in July, and the investment period is about 22 months with an annual forecasted return of 21% per year. If you have any questions on this opportunity or West Urban, we're going to answer a few now, but more than happy to discuss a little bit more in our brunch hour. And again, really just appreciate everyone coming out here, spending time with us on your Sunday morning to learn a little bit about what we got going on. So I'll pass it off to Cynthia and the room for any questions.